visiting amarpathshala.com. This lecture is part 3 from the chapter The Circulatory System. We concluded the previous lecture, which was the part 2, by finishing our discussion on red blood cells. And we begin part 3 by discussing white blood cell, and then we look deeper within. So let's begin. White blood cells, also known as WBC. White blood cells are specially tasked to protect our body from the invasion of foreign pathogens. There are several different kind of white blood cells, and they all contain a big nucleus. As you can see in this small diagram of blood cells in here on the slide, you see that this cell has an abnormally large and deeply stained nucleus, which is different from all the surrounding cells around it. And this is why we can clearly identify it as a WBC. The two main types of white blood cells are known as lymphocytes or macrophages. Lymphocytes are white blood cells that produces a special chemical which deactivates toxic or foreign pathogen that enters in our body, and macrophages are white blood cells that engulfs, as in it eats almost, the foreign pathogen that enters into our body. Macrophages, like I said, eats, and when they engulf or eat them, the chemical that are present inside these white blood cells destroys and annihilates the existence of any foreign pathogen that got into our body in the first place. And as I mentioned before, lymphocytes fight the disease-causing organism by making antibodies. Antibodies are chemical that destroys these invaders by dissolving them. The lymphocytes, the other different kind of lymphocytes that are present apart from the ones that produces antibodies and apart from macrophages, produces antitoxins that breaks down the poisonous chemical that enters into our body. Next comes platelets. Now, when I discussed the presence of platelets in my discussion of blood, I said that platelets are there to prevent excessive flow of blood out of our body. They do so by producing a mesh network that traps red blood cells. Now, in here we learn how. You see in this diagram, you see these almost star-shaped structures that are forming this fiber that trapped this red blood cell. And in here you see a blood clot. This is how a platelet functions. Platelets are not exactly cells themselves. They are bits of cells that are broken down from larger cells. And then they produce tiny fibrinogen fibers. When they accumulate together, when they join together, they form fibrinogen fibers, and this forms an entire net. And this net traps the red blood cells, so they cannot flow out through the cut anymore. From the outside looking in, the whole picture looks something like this. You see, if you follow my cursor right here, you can see that this is the part of the skin that got cut. You see the cut right here. And in here you can see that the platelets are forming a sort of a net or a network or a mesh. And this mesh is trapping these red blood cells right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. These red blood cells that are escaping from the capillary in here, and it's being trapped around here, and they're forming this sort of a blockage or a clot that is preventing further flow of blood. Now we discuss a bit more about plasma. I said before that plasma is the liquid part of the blood. In juice, the liquid part of the blood, the liquid part is water, wherein everything else is dissolved in. And in terms of blood, the plasma is the liquid or the yellowish part. If you have visited in a lab, or if you haven't, you can look it up in YouTube, that if you took some blood in a test tube or a centrifugation tube and then put it into a centrifuging machine, you will be performing a task what is known as centrifugation. The process basically is that in here, inside the machine, the constituents are revolved or rotated many thousand times over matters of minutes. And then what happens is, during this process, substances are separated on the basis of their weight. It's kind of like tying a string around a ball and then rotating the ball as fast as you can. Now you can only maybe put in 10 to 20 rotation at most in a minute. But in these centrifugation machines, whatever we take in the tubes and put inside, they are rotated as much as 13,000 times per minute. Think about it, guys, that's a lot. It's like making 13,000 cycles or circles in 1 minute. That's a hell lot. So when blood is put inside a tube and then it's put inside the centrifugation machine and it's rotated or centrifuged, blood separates into a yellowish liquid part which is found at the top of the tube, and in the middle there is a buffy or a neutral whitish color, and at the bottom you see the red, the bright red that is usually your blood color. At the top we have the liquid plasma, wherein we have the water present inside the blood and the salt and dissolved minerals and some gas, etc., etc., etc. And the buffy coat or the neutral or the middle part, a thin layer in the middle, you have the white blood cells, the platelets, etc. And at the bottom, at the very bottom of the tube, which is the red part, you have the red blood cells. Now all these were separated on the basis of their weight, and if you do that, you found the total constituent of blood. So the straw-colored liquid that carries the cells and platelets which help the blood clot are found at the top. It also contains useful things like carbon dioxide, glucose, amino acid, proteins, vitamins, hormones, waste materials, and urea, like I just said, and etc. Now, to summarize our whole lecture, we can put it in a form of a fill in the blanks that is in front of your screen right now. If you want, you can copy this on your notebook and then use it in your further in your class task or exercises. This is going to help you. So if we were to summarize our whole lecture, we have the following: that arteries take blood away from the heart. The walls of an artery are made out of thick what, guys? Muscles, muscular walls, and elastic fibers. Veins carry blood where? Veins carry blood towards the heart, and they also have valves. The dash links the arteries and veins, and we learn what links the arteries and veins. The capillaries are vessels that link the arteries and veins, and they are 1 cell thick. And blood is made up of 4 main things. Plasma, like we just learned, is the liquid part of the blood. And red blood cells carry what? Oxygen, one of the chief respiratory gases. White blood cells protect the body from diseases, and platelets help the blood to clot. So guys, part 3 was therefore the last part from the chapter, the circulatory system. And this concludes the entire chapter of the circulatory system. I hope in my lecture I was able to provide you with everything that you needed to know about this chapter, everything in detail, and if you have any further questions, I hope that my points and my explanation were enough for your understanding. And up until the next chapter comes along, have a nice day.